I loved it. I had the best time watching it. I mean, it's the way the show's made is incredible. The stop motion, the animation, all those things are kind of like the cinematography is something that I'm really impressed by, and the artistry that goes into that. But then also it's something that I loved the writing when I read the script. It made me chuckle and its crude, bizarre storylines and humor, and it made me do that watching it. So it's kind of a really great blend of this really well made show, but with this kind of offbeat quirkiness and the humor, and yeah, it provided me a nice escape and lots of laughs at the moment. I think it's a perfect time for Crossing Swords because it's fun, it's irreverent, it's an escape. As I said, that's what I've used it as, and I think it displays great artistry in how it's made, and you can lose yourself in it.
I think it's really important to have balance in your life. And we are all undergoing a current trauma by being locked in our houses and having to separate and having to deal with how important basic communion is and not having the opportunity to experience it. And then we're also at a flashpoint in our country where we, for the first time in a long time, are talking more meaningfully about what is wrong and what we will or won't accept. And also everyone, I found myself, and I've always considered myself educated and aware. I'm learning things I never knew before. And I'm being given a perspective that I've never been able to have before. And so I've found myself far more serious than I've ever been, far more urgently committed to making real change, and listening to people, and being empathetic, and then taking real action. And that is overwhelming, and it can be exhausting. And I think as people, you need a real balance. And if you're constantly in an enraged and furious, serious place, then you're not even well rested enough to adequately hear each other and to actually stay energized and motivated to accomplish the enormous goals that we've set before ourselves. And so just having a moment of break, a moment to laugh, to smile, to feel those feelings and feel like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a person. I think that's really important. And even if it's only for 22 minutes, I love having the opportunity to share a laugh with other people.
I think Seth said it perfectly. We need a respite. We need a break. We need to take a moment, and this is silly. It's adult and irreverent, but it's also a really silly show and a really funny show. And I've enjoyed the laugh. I needed the laugh, and I'm so happy that we're kind of popping into the world at a time where everyone that needs a laugh can find it here, and it's been a gift, and it just worked out. It was serendipitous that it worked out that we were released at this time in the nation and in the world.
I think it honestly, I mean, it goes back to what we all always loved about animation and cartoons is just, seeing a little kid, whether it's Mac in Home Alone or Uncle Buck, or an animated, whether it's Tom and Jerry or the Smurfs, but seeing a character that looks as so sweet and innocent, even with armor, it's adorable armor, but then having him drop the F-bomb or slicing someone's head off or garroting someone or, feasting on their guts or laying with their sister, it's just funny, man. And right now is a time where you need that pressure release at the end of the day. Honestly, even to have the strength to continue on the next day with whatever your cause at the moment is, or your feelings are, or to have that pressure valve at the end of the day to be able to go, all right, I just want to decompress for a second, laugh, have fun, and go to bed. You know what I mean? And give everyone a hug for a second. And then hopefully you can start the day again with the same amount of renewed energy.
When Harv and Tom talked to me initially about this, it wasn't trying to select a setting that was appropriate for this kind of comedy. Their concept was a very comedic take on these tropes that we were seeing so much of in the height of Game of Thrones popularity and zeitgeist. The idea of telling a very silly or comedic story in that world seemed like a hilarious opportunity. And instead of just doing a straight parody of that, using that world as a backdrop, but with the aesthetic of these hyper juvenile characters, that just makes it all the sillier. So you've got something very serious, you know, a feudal landscape and a mad king and, you know, all of these desperate conditions and this idealistic character who wants to do good, finding his own morality challenged by the very people he's chosen to idolize. Like that sets up a great opportunity for comedy. But there is something just inherently silly about very rudimentary characters having incredibly complicated emotional discussions. That it just makes it very silly. So it all worked well to serve itself. But it wasn't as if we had a board of options and selected, okay, medieval times plus this type of comedy. It just sort of, everything worked in service to this particular idea.
I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, because I honestly didn't know they wouldn't have arms. I don't know why that threw me, you know, because everything was just kind of floating and there was nothing holding it. So that made me laugh just seeing it. And then I loved my character, Sergeant Meghan. I love that she has a little bun like I do. This has become like my signature, this little bun. And she has a bun. And I don't know if she was always going to have a bun or if they added the bun because it was me. But that was really nice to see, because it's the first character I've voiced where it actually looked like me to me. So yeah, and the world is so vast and beautiful, and I've visited Stupid Buddy Studios. I still don't know how they do what they do. It's a magic place over there.
It's a really nice thing to do as an actor, because it makes you completely focus on like one item of your kind of tools to use to kind of express and create a character. But honestly, from my perspective, it's really down to these guys being there in the booth, because I'm quite a predictable actor in many ways. I'll say something a certain way, and then it's kind of it's difficult not to get set in a pattern of just keeping on doing that. Whereas these guys completely would give great notes and different readings and different ideas behind lines and dialogue, and suddenly, you know, sometimes I wouldn't get what the joke was or what the right tone to deliver the line is, and these guys would make me understand that, because they're obviously pros with this stuff. So I was just learning and trying to give as much energy as possible, because that's one thing that you kind of, as an actor on screen, you kind of do a take and then there's like, they reset some things, or you go off and like you get little breaks. Whereas when you're recording in a studio, you kind of, it's non-stop. So you kind of have to really ramp up the energy and make sure that you're ready to commit. It's the entry point for the audience, but he's also, he's got a great moral compass. He's someone who really believes in good and wants to be a noble squire. And he's committed his whole life to that. And the thing that I loved about it was suddenly this quite naive character being thrown into this world that is completely unexpected. And him having to learn and witness all the people that he looked up to and wanted to protect, suddenly it all kind of unraveling around him, and him kind of getting slightly jaded by it, but also trying his best to remain that optimistic peg person that he is.
Yeah, I love Hulu, and I'm watching it pretty much all the time, 24/7 right now. But I'm gonna let Seth, as the producer, he's definitely dealt with Hulu more than me.
They're incredibly collaborative and really supportive, and any of their notes or ideas are never in competition with what we're trying to do. It only looks to enhance it. They only give us information as to how better serve their audience. I mean, it's been awesome getting to work with them. And then they've given us a ton of promotion. They're really pushing the show and making it available to people. And I don't know what else we could ask for.